basically the process of generating a pool of large job applicants from which suitable candidates can be picked for the vacant positions. So that is recruitment. Now, how do multinational enterprises go about the generation of this pool? So that will be an integral part of our discussion today. Then once you've been able to generate this pool of large job applicants, you adopt the requisite techniques to pick the best candidates out of the lot. So that will be the selection component. So by the end of the lecture, you should also be able to elucidate how selection decisions are done for international assignments. And you should also be able to identify the success factors. When you want selection process of international assignees to be successful, what are some of the factors to consider? And the characteristics of successful international assignees. Then we will also look at the causes and nature of international assignee failure. So what are some of the factors that account for failure of expatriates when they go on an international assignment? We'll be looking at a number of them. Then the last part is where we'll be considering the phases that international assignees go through in an attempt to embark on their expatriation exercise. So the phases of expatriate adjustment. Okay, let me see. So I have just 7 people. I will continue. So like I mentioned earlier on, staffing for multinational enterprises involves hiring at the local level, which could either be from the headquarters or the subsidiary level to fill vacant positions. But staffing does not only begin with the hiring. It actually starts with what we call recruitment. And in HR, when we talk about recruitment, it simply means that we are trying to create a pool of large job applicants. You are inviting applications from all parts of life so that at the end of the day, you will have a lot of prospective candidates that have the requisite skills for the task ahead. Then after generating this large pool of job applicants, you will then sort it, you will sieve it, or you will eliminate the not so good candidates or the unsuitable ones from the suitable ones using a number of techniques, which we call selection techniques. So in staffing the multinational enterprises, firms have a choice by using either ethnocentric, polycentric, geocentric, and regiocentric staffing options. And if you quite remember from our lecture 2, I indicated that all multinational enterprises are at least informed by these 4 frames of reference. So depending on the international orientation, by international orientation, I'm referring to these 4 frames of reference, depending on the one which underpins their orientation, then it will influence the way they embark on staffing decisions, the way they even embark on training and development, the way they embark on compensation and benefits, performance management, and so on and so forth. So by the end of this lecture, indirectly, I expect you to be able to tell me the implications of, for instance, ethnocentrism or the ethnocentric international orientation on staffing decisions. You should be able to discuss it in great details by applying what we did from lecture 2. Okay, good. So once again, in the staffing decisions, our prime interest is to embark on an efficient recruitment and selection exercise. And this can be done by targeting candidates from the parent country or the subsidiary level where we intend to set up. Now, these staffing decisions can also be informed by one of these international orientations, which include ethnocentric, polycentric, geocentric, or regiocentric. So when we say a multinational enterprise has an ethnocentric international orientation, it means that their staffing decisions will also be underpinned by ethnocentric staffing approach. And what does this mean? When a multinational enterprise staffing decision is influenced by an ethnocentric staffing approach, what we are trying to say is that the multinational enterprise tend to hire from the headquarters countries and send employees on assignment to the subsidiaries. So I'm taking it again. If a multinational enterprise has an ethnocentric staffing orientation or staffing approach, we are basically trying to say that they believe the country where the headquarters originates from does things better as compared to where the subsidiary level, subsidiary company is located. And so when it comes to recruitment and selection or their staffing decisions, they tend to prioritize on the strategies and mechanisms that are adopted by the headquarters country and replicate it at the subsidiary level. Now, the implication of ethnocentric staffing approach is that key managerial positions are almost always reserved for people from the headquarters country. So let me give an example. Zenith Bank, for instance, has its parent company, or the parent country is in Nigeria. And when we say their international orientation, as far as the bank is concerned, is ethnocentrism, it will also imply that their staffing approach will be ethnocentric. This presupposes that key managerial decisions outside the headquarters country. So, for instance, there are key managerial positions in Ghana, in Ivory Coast, in Sierra Leone, and so on and so forth, will be reserved from people that are coming from where? Nigeria. Once this occurs, then we say their staffing approach is what? Ethnocentric approach. Please, is the explanation clear? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Is the explanation clear?
Please go over again.
Hey, already. Okay, but by the way, do you still remember the international orientations I took you through in lecture 2? Yes, you remember please. Them? Okay, so what does ethnocentrism means? I want to take it from the known to the unknown. So who can explain to me what ethnocentrism means? Or when we say a multinational enterprise has an international orientation, which is ethnocentric, what does it mean? Who would like to try? Yes, Jennifer, go on.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, go on, Jennifer.
When we say ethnocentrism, it means the people there have a stronger feeling for their cultures. They think it's powerful than other cultures that they see. their
Very
culture
good.
in the
Very good. Thank you very much. Gideon, were you also trying to add something? Or that was Douglas?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Douglas.
Yeah, that is what Jennifer has said already.
Oh, okay. You to say yours.
I'm about to talk about the culture, how they have strong feeling about their culture and try to replicate it to where the host, the host,
Country will be located.
the host, yes.
Okay. So, Josephine, I can see your hand up.
Yes, sir. So I was saying, with the ethnocentric, the managers are most likely to use the home country standard as their reference.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So that is basically what we know. Now we are going to apply this understanding to ethnocentric staffing approach. And when we say staffing, like I mentioned, we are referring to the way we conduct our recruitment and selection for vacant or available positions. Okay. So when we say a multinational enterprise is adopting the ethnocentric staffing approach, it means that, one, the multinational enterprise already ranks or rates the country where the headquarters is located above all other countries, particularly all other subsidiary countries. For this reason, when it comes to their intention to fill available portfolios, they give much opportunity to candidates that originate from the country where the headquarters is located. Okay? And this is simple. The reason behind this decision why they are picking people from the headquarters is that they believe the headquarters, in terms of their performance and the way they perform their business, is much superior to the way business is conducted in other jurisdictions. So that is the ethnocentric staffing approach. And I'm saying that it doesn't end there. It has huge implications on how even these staffing decisions are carried out. So, one, key decisions, either at the headquarters or the subsidiary level, when they are thinking about who is more suitable to fill this vacant position in the subsidiary country, they almost always think about someone who is coming from the headquarters, or at least in the country where the headquarters is located. Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Good. So when you are reading through, I also expect you to be thinking about some of the challenges that will crop up when a multinational enterprise adopts the ethnocentric staffing approach. So let me tell you one. One of the possible challenges is that if the candidate that has been given the nod to go on this international assignment does not understand the cultural practices or how things are supposed to be done at the local level, so that means at the subsidiary level, then there's likely to be cultural clash, in the sense that the person will be kowtowing to the directions of the headquarters, which might not necessarily fit the cultural context of the host country where they are operating. Then the second challenge of the adoption of ethnocentric staffing approach is that the host country nationals may also perceive it as a dent on their opportunity to rise up in the organizational ladder. In other words, when all key positions become vacant, host country nationals are looked over, and these opportunities are given to foreign nationals, particularly those from the headquarters country. And this can be a disincentive or a way of demoralizing the host country nationals from working harder. So when you are reflecting about these one bullets I have here, please take your time and think through it and connect it with all the issues that we raised on during lecture 2. Now, the polycentric staffing approach. When we say a multinational enterprise is also pursuing a polycentric staffing approach, it presupposes that their international orientation or their frame of reference is polycentrism. On that basis, such multinational enterprise embark on recruitment and selection by considering the use of locals from the subsidiary country. In other words, unlike ethnocentric staffing approach where priority is given to nationals that are coming from the headquarters country, in polycentrism or polycentric staffing approach, opportunity is given to individuals that originate from the subsidiary country. And the logic is simple. The polycentric approach perceives that local nationals understand how business is conducted at the subsidiary level much better than those that are originating from the headquarters. And so once you give such portfolios to them, they will be able to gel well with the local culture and also appeal much better to the constituents at the subsidiary level. And this also has its own implications. One implication is that anytime a multinational enterprise decides to go with the polycentric staffing approach, key managerial positions at the subsidiary level are reserved for what? The subsidiary country nationals. Please, is this one clear? So I am explaining this point. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Good.
Now, when we say a multinational enterprise is using a geocentric approach, it also presupposes that their international orientation, as far as the conduct of business or commerce is concerned, is geocentrism. So geocentric staffing approach goes with geocentrism. Now, this also indicates that when it comes to recruitment and selection of international assignees, such multinational enterprises are willing to hire talents irrespective of their geographical locus. So whether you are located in Papua New Guinea, China, Afghanistan, Iran, or wherever, once they believe you have the requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities to get the job done at the subsidiary level, they are willing to give you the opportunity to serve the country, the company. So the regiocentric staffing approach simply means that irrespective of where the talent is coming from, once we believe they have what it takes to do, we are willing to give them the nod to work for us. So the implication of the geocentric approach is that key managerial positions at the subsidiary level is not a reserve for only host country or home country nationals, but it is reserved for talented people. So the emphasis is on the talents that we are looking for. Once we characterize you as a talented employee, then you'll be given the opportunity to serve. Okay, is that one too clear? The regiocentric approach. Sorry, the geocentric approach. Is it clear?
Go over it again. Your line went off.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Don't
please.
worry, I'm recording it so you'll get it. But all that I was trying to say is that in the use of geocentric approach, it is premised on the international orientation that we call geocentrism. And this simply means that when it comes to the recruitment and selection of people for an international assignment, the multinational enterprise does not look, that they do not consider only the headquarters or the host country. Rather, they consider any location where they can get a talented employee from. So irrespective of you being located in Papua New Guinea, Afghanistan, Iran, or Ghana, once they perceive or they characterize you as a talented person who possesses the requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities to deliver, they are willing to give you the opportunity to serve. So that is about the geocentric approach. So with that one, they look at the whole world as the source of attracting the pool of possible job applicants. And they do not restrict these staffing decisions to only the headquarters or the host country. Is it clear now?
Yes, please, it is.
So who can also explain the last one, which is regiocentric staffing decision? What would the regiocentric approach be? Hey, have you been learning? Who would like to try the regiocentric staffing approach? Yes, Abigail Asantua. Is Abigail online?
Yes, sir, please, I'm here.
So what do you think the regiocentric staffing approach will be?
Sir, so their recruitment are done within the same region.
Okay, thank you very much. And who would also like to add something? Okay, so the major difference between the regiocentric and the geocentric is that unlike the geocentric where the recruitment and selection is escalated to the global scale, in regiocentric approach, the recruitment and selection decisions are confined within the region where the multinational enterprise plies their trade. Okay. And so usually candidates that are given the nod to operate at the regiocentric or the geocentric approach must be candidates that are culturally intelligent. So when it comes to their score on an adaptability scale, it must be up there. Unlike the ethnocentric and polycentric, where the decisions are usually confined within either from the headquarters or at the subsidiary level. So please take notes. Okay. Now, can you see my next slide?
Yes, sir, we can.
Good. So, having mentioned the various staffing approaches that can be used to identify talented people for an international assignment, it becomes necessary for us to look at the various categories of employees that fall within that can be given the nod for an international assignment. And these employees can also be discussed within the 3 types of international employees that multinational enterprises can have. I think this one too, we did it in lecture 2, but let me just go over it. Now, so staffing of multinational enterprises can take the form of any of these 3 international employees. So a parent country national can be given the opportunity to go on an international assignment. A host country national can also be given the opportunity to serve at the subsidiary level. Then a third country national can also be given the opportunity, particularly when they are characterized as talented and fit for an upcoming portfolio. Now, parent country nationals are basically citizens of the country of the headquarters. So in simple balance, you can say all the employees that originate from the country where the headquarters is located can be labeled as parent country nationals. So once again, if you go back to the Zenith Bank example, the parent country is what? Nigeria. So all the employees that are working at the headquarters, which is in Nigeria, can be characterized as parent country nationals. Now, host country nationals are basically the employees that originate from the context where the subsidiaries, if you like, the branches are located. So all the Ghanaians working in Zenith Bank, Ghana, can be characterized as host country nationals. And it is so because they are not Nigerians. However, a Nigerian working in Zenith Bank, Ghana, can be characterized as a parent country national. Please, is this distinction clear? If by this time you are struggling with this one, then it tells me you are not reading. Now, so the third country nationals, these are also nationals that neither originate from the country where the headquarters is located or where the subsidiary country is also located. So for instance, if we have an Ivorian working in Zenith Bank, Ghana, such an employee can be construed as a third country national because they are neither Ghanaians nor are they Nigerians. Someone is saying, sir, please, you have mute yourself. Can't you hear me?
Sir, we can hear you.
Hey, some of you too can do miracles.
It may be from the person's network.
Yeah, precisely. So please check from your end. Please, is the distinction clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that is it. Now, anytime an employee is transferred from the headquarters to go and work at the subsidiary level, we characterize such employees as international assignees or expatriates. Now, very soon we will look at the expatriation, the various phases of expatriate process, and you understand that it is a whole process on its own. in the sense that if you do it in a rash manner, then the chances of the expatriates failing on their assignment will also be high. The same can be said about repatriates, or when they are finally done with their assignment and they are coming back to where they were sent from. That process too is very much detailed, and it has to be done with all the attention it deserves. Other than that, when they come back, they will not be able to impart the international knowledge they acquired or share it with their compatriots, and they might also find it very much difficult to integrate with the new environment that they are finding themselves. So experts are primarily employees that are given the nod to go and serve an international assignment, and they can also be called international assignees. So as I proceed, I might be using them interchangeably. All right, then there is also the concept of impatration or impatriates. So an impatriate is primarily an international assignee working at the subsidiary level who is relocated to the headquarters or the parent company for a period of about 1 to 2 years, usually to acquire some knowledge about a new technology or a new strategy that the company wants to replicate at the subsidiary level, so that after acquiring this knowledge, they will go back to their host country to replicate it. And that process is what we call impatration. And the international assignees that fall under impatration are called impatriates. Please, is it clear? Okay. Now let's look at the purpose of the assignment. Why do we give people the opportunity to go and serve on an international assignment? And depending, once again, all these purposes can also be traced back to the international orientation or the staffing decision that was adopted. Okay, but generally speaking, the purpose of some of these assignments could be that the headquarters wants to consolidate their control of the subsidiary level, and so they feel or believe that when they give the opportunity for someone from the headquarters to go and serve over there, then they will be in a good position to carry their directions or their strategy through. So one is for strategic reasons to consolidate or get intact their control of the subsidiary level. Now, the second reason could also be to assist in the rollout of new products, technology, or solve problems from the perspective of the headquarters. So in terms of rolling out new products, when we go by the ethnocentric approach, then the purpose could be that that particular product is very much known or upheld in the country where the parent company is located. And so they believe that by leading it, they will be able to push the vision ahead. Now, when you go by the polycentric approach, still by applying to the new products marketing, it implies that although the product was perhaps developed at the headquarters or the country where the headquarters is located, opportunity is given to local nationals at the subsidiary level to lead this marketing, because they believe they understand the culture or the way of doing things much better at the local. And so they will be in a good position to actually make it very much appealing to the local constituents. Now, another purpose of these international assignments can also be characterized as assisting in management development. Now, you all agree with me that multinational enterprises operate not only within the confines of a country, but across geographical borders. And so when people are being prepared for managerial positions, it becomes necessary that we give them the opportunity to understand the international business from different cultural perspectives, so that when they eventually get the nod and issues start arising, they will be able to understand the bigger picture. So some of these assignments serve as the opportunity for them to develop their managerial skills, be it from the period, being a parent country national or a host country national. So for host country nationals, it can be attained through the impatration process. Whereas for the parent country nationals or the third country nationals, it can be attained through expatriation process. All right. Now, so when it comes to the recruitment of international assignees or expats, the ideal candidates that are usually invited to apply for such portfolios must have certain qualities. And research indicates that the first quality that they must possess is managerial competencies. Managerial competence. That is, they must possess the requisite technical skills. Basically, they should have command over the task that they are already performing, be it at the host country or at the headquarters. Whatever job you are handling over there, you should have a lot of command and be very much knowledgeable about it. Once you possess these competencies, then it means that when you are given the opportunity to serve at the international level, you will not fail. Now, the second one is trainability. So under training, the candidate must also possess the quality of what we call trainability, which means that you should be a candidate who is willing to learn. You should be a candidate who is willing to learn. And by trainability, we are saying that when the time comes up for you to avail yourself for instance, language training, you should be someone who is ready to learn new languages. Other than that, when you go on the international assignment, it can actually cause your failure over there, particularly if you are not able to communicate effectively with them at the international level. And also when you are not willing, if you are willing to understand different cultures, then it will prepare you to be culturally intelligent so that when you go on the assignment, you'll be in a position to deal with cultural clashes and culture shocks as and when they crop up. So your trainability should be up there. Then adaptability. And this is usually ascertained by a questionnaire that we call adaptability test. And adaptability basically ascertains your ability to deal with new, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar situations. So any candidate who is not very rigid in their thinking and they are very much accommodating to new or novel situations will be up for this particular task, as opposed to candidates that are very much rigid and traditional in their thinking and not willing to accommodate new or novel issues as they crop up, will not likely to be shortlisted. So when advertisement is sent out to look out for a potential candidate for an international assignment, these are some of the 3 considerations that they look out for. Now, research also indicates that in order to do a good job by considering or to generate suitable candidates with these 3 qualities, it is important to develop more lead time. It is important to develop more lead time. And what I mean by lead time here is that as an international HR, you don't have to sit down until the last minute where there's the need for you to fill a vacancy. That is where you start shortlisting, or you start putting out some of these advertisements out. Rather, you have to create an ample time between the recruitment and the selection so that you'll be able to do an effective job. In other words, the time that will elapse between your recruitment and selection decisions and the actual redeployment to the international, the subsidiary company should not be too short. Anytime you find yourself working under such pressure or in a short vacuum, then you are likely to encounter a lot of selection errors in your selection decisions. And what are some of these errors? Can you mention some of the errors in selection decisions? Hello, are you there? By the way, did you understand my question?
No, sir. Please take it again.
Okay. I am saying that in order for an international HR to, 1, develop a pool of qualified job applicants, and 2, select from this pool to fill or to perform the international assignments, there is the need for them to develop lead time. Okay, and by lead time, we are basically trying to say that the time that will elapse between the recruitment and selection and then the redeployment should be long. It shouldn't be short. Now, I'm saying that if it is very, very short, the international HR, in terms of their recruitment and selection decision, they are likely to commit errors. So I'm inquiring from you whether you are familiar with some of these errors that can crop up in recruitment and selection.
Okay. I think the errors can be committed here is that the right candidate with the right qualification
will not be selected. Okay. All right. So the answer you're giving me is more general, but there are specific errors that can be conducted and that can be encountered during selection. Do you know some of these errors?
So maybe the error of choosing a caliber of person who will not be able to adapt to the host country system of doing things in terms of culture and tradition, language, and all that.
Very good. So that is what we call adaptability error. So thank you very much, Roland. That is one. What again? But by the way, this is HR class, right? This is HR class.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and errors encountered, specific errors that are encountered during recruitment and selection. Okay. Have you heard about recency error or recency effects, primacy effects, halo effects, similar to me error, and so on and so forth? Okay.
Another could be an error of bias decision making.
Bias. So which of the biases?
Professional biases.
No. So there is something we call similar to me bias, whereby the international HR who is working under pressure tend to pick candidates that mirror their his personal characteristics, with the assumption of the implicit implicit information at the back of their mind that once they pick people that mirrors their personality or characteristics, such people will be able to be successful on the international assignments. And when this occurs, it implies instead of using the yardstick or the parameters, or if you like, the procedures and protocols that are laid down to pick suitable candidates, the person rather uses their own personal biases to pick candidates. And all these things can be overcome when you create enough lead time. All right. Now, selection. So at the recruitment part, our interest is to create a pool of large job applicants. And it will be surprising to you that by the time we end up creating this pool, a lot of unsolicited applicants and unqualified applicants will still be within this pool. At the end of the day, we have to use the requisite strategy to pick the best ones that are suitable for the task that they are supposed to perform at the international level. And so selection becomes important. Now, it is also very much important. So, like I was mentioning under the lead time, that the international HR takes its time to do proper selection. And this is so because when the international HR commits errors at the selection session, it can also have implications on the success of the international assignee. Yeah, hello.
Where comes in the first impression error?
The first impression.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. First impression error in selection.
So in assuming you go for, all of you have gone for interview before. You've all gone for interviews before. And the moment someone walks in or you look at their CV, it gives you some sort of impression in your mind's eye. Now, instead of going further to confirm all the impressions you are getting, either from the person's physique or their credentials that have been submitted, you just base your decision on the initial impression you got to give the person the nod. Once this occurs, then we say first impression has occurred. And like the old saying, first impressions might be wrong. In other words, the way someone is properly arranged on their CV, or maybe how the person is well dressed and appearing to you, might be totally different from the content which is within them. Is it clear?
Yes, please.
So it is important that you take your time to sieve or prune all the large pool of job
So, sir,
applicants you
excuse
have.
me, in examination question, if you ask us anything in relation to this first impression thing, can any of us identify first impression based on CV arrangement or credentials, and at the same time mention code of dressing or kind of?
Oh, so if all of you write this for me, then it will be like you are plagiarizing yourself. Just reflect and get something which will fit.
Okay.
Okay. And at this level, you who are in level 300. So at this level, don't be so much concerned about how we'll be coming in exams. Try and understand it, because I want you to get the issues at your fingertips, so that even after school, you'll be able to identify with what you learned. And me at this level, I'll not be asking you these kind of questions. That's what is first impression, what is similar to me error, what is a halo effect and recency effects, primacy effects. If I were to be teaching performance management, then there is a case and some sort of analysis that we would have done over there. But at this level, those ones are for the level 100s and 200s. Even 200, I will not ask that question. So don't be concerned about the questions for now. The areas that you need to learn, I'll be drawing your attention, okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what was I even saying? That you can commit some errors if you do not take your time to select the right candidates. And don't forget that multinational enterprises spend huge sums of money to fund the expatriation and repatriation process. So if at the end of the day, you end up selecting someone who will go and fail on the international assignment, then it will be a huge dent to the financial muscle of the organization. So that is why we are saying that you have to take your time to do the right thing, so that when the person gets to the international level, they'll be able to excel. Now, so in order to carry out a proper staffing decision, it is also important that you conduct a thorough job analysis. So on say we are going back to some of the issues we learned even last semester. You have to conduct a thorough job analysis. And the reason why you need to conduct a good job analysis is that it will inform you, the hiring manager, to know the requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities that one must possess before they will be successful on the international assignment. And you will also be informed on the task or duties that they will be performing when they go on the international assignment. So the moment someone submits their credential, or the moment you scan through your human resource information system, you should be having an idea of who is the ideal candidate for this portfolio which is coming up. Okay. So if you don't conduct a proper job analysis, then it can also affect your selection decisions. Please, is it clear?
Sir, can
Yes, sir. But let's take this scenario.
One at a time, but one at a time, so that we are all on the same page. Do you all understand it? Hello, do you all understand? Jennifer. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Good. So do you all understand what I just said?
Sir, please take it again. This thing went.
Okay.
The line.
All right. What I'm saying over here is that for selection decisions to be successful, it should be premised on a properly conducted job analysis. I would say when we are doing selection, we are trying to consider all the people that have applied for a given positions, and we are weighing them one after the other to see which one is more talented for that person to be what? Picked. Now, in order to pick the right candidates, I am saying that you must have conducted a proper job analysis. And what is job analysis? Job analysis will primarily help you to know, one, the nature of the job that is supposed to be performed, or how it's even supposed to perform, why it is performed the way it is performed, and so on and so forth. Two, it will also help you to know who is a suitable candidate in terms of their knowledge, skills, and abilities. Then, even at the master's level, it will even assist you to know how such candidates are worth. So that is what we call job evaluation. With this information, anytime you scan through the pool of job applicants and you are considering them one by one, the outcome of the job analysis or the information that you deduce from your job analysis will help you to do a proper job. Please, is it clear now in terms of the selection?
Yes, sir.
Now, Roland, you can escalate it to the next level. Hello, Roland.
Hello.
I couldn't hear you well. So start again.
I'm saying the scenario I wanted to demonstrate has been explained in your.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
You say it yourself and let me see. Maybe I wanted different angles.
I wanted to use an instance of selection where you consider one candidate very conversant with the culture, the language, and another candidate who is a result-oriented candidate with higher academic credentials and vast experience in the area of performance.
Okay.
But from the explanation you give, I think critical job analysis answers all.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Please, any other question? Any other question? Okay, so a number of factors are considered when it comes to the selection of international assignees. And these are just a few that I have enumerated. Now, when it comes to the selection of international assignees, one thing we consider is the maturity of the candidates. So we look out for candidates that are very much experienced and knowledgeable in their line of duty or in their community of practice. So whatever you are doing, you should have excelled very much over there so that we can give you the nod to go and serve on a managerial position or an upper challenge. Then, just like I mentioned under the training or the trainability, the candidate must also have the ability to handle foreign languages. And this is particularly important because when you are going on an assignment in a cultural context, which has a different language from your country of origination, you will need the language to interact not only with your co-workers, but also with the local nationals outside the organization. At the end of the day, you must survive. So when you go to the market, you should have some basic survival language skills to interact with the market people. If you want to buy a few stuffs, these basic language avenues will help you to interact with people in that particular country. So your ability to handle foreign language too is a must. Then you must also possess a favorable outlook on the international assignments and local by the expatriate and his or her family. So when you say you have to possess a favorable outlook on the international assignment, it means that it is something that you yourself, you are willing to take as a different challenge. It shouldn't be imposed on you, or you shouldn't be doing it against your will. Other than that, when you go and you fail, you can easily rationalize it by saying that, after all, I didn't want to go. You forced me to go. And in situations where you are going with your family, or you are going with so basically you are going with your family, it should also be a decision that your family agrees to. And when I say family, I'm not referring to your extended. So I'm referring to your spouse and perhaps if you have children. Now, all these things have to be properly thought through, because if you are not able to resolve this decision properly and you go against their will, it will not give you the right peace of mind to be delivering at the international level. So you will be having a lot of family conflicts and challenges, and that can affect your peace of mind. Then there is also the need for you to possess appropriate personal characteristics, such as being in good health, being very much resourceful. Then the adaptability issue also comes in. Desire to learn not only language, but other things in the new culture that you are going into, both at the pre-departure and post-departure. And you must also be open to new things. So as far as your personality is concerned, when you score high on the openness section, then it gives you the nod. Can you think of any other factor that can be added here?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello, go on.
I think the ability for the person to succumb to other cultures too should be considered.
Okay, so that can be captured under the adaptability. Okay, adaptability. Any other? Criteria for selection. Criteria for selection. So selection decisions are premised on a number of criteria. One is job suitability. You must possess the requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities. So it shouldn't be like we are putting square pegs in round holes. You must have what it takes to execute the international assignments. Then cultural adaptability. So you must be someone who is accommodating. You shouldn't be ethnocentric, but you should be all embracing as far as learning different culture, language, and interacting with people from different contexts is concerned. Then you must also have the desire for the assignments. In other words, you shouldn't be forced to go on the assignment. once you do it against your own will, then you will not be performing wholeheartedly when you get to the international level. So it shouldn't be forced on you, but it is something that you must aspire for, or something that you must see as part of your career progression. It should be something that you think you need in order to be successful for future managerial positions. Now, okay, so all these things I have explained them. So let's look at the specific strategies or techniques that are used in selection. Specific strategies or techniques that are used in selection. So this one too, I know you've done it in your introduction to HRM. So the first one that we are going to look at is the conduct of interviews. Now, after generating the large pool of job applicants, it will not be economical or efficient to give all these candidates in the pool the opportunity to go and serve on the international assignment. So for instance, about 500 candidates applied for the position that came up. Will it be rational for you to allow all of them to go and perform? So the first technique that you can use to screen them is what we call interviews. Now, for the purposes of international HRM, these interviews are usually conducted by a rep from the home country, a rep from the host country, and an interculturalist. So a rep from the home country, another from the host country, and an interculturalist. So ideally, this is how it's supposed to be done. But depending on the portfolio or the assignment that you are going to carry out, it is possible that all these exercises or the interview process will be conducted by the representation from the home country. So that means the headquarters is likely to carry out, particularly if their international orientation is ethnocentric. Now, so you all understand what interview means. It means that the candidates that have been shortlisted are invited to come and sell themselves and actually convince the panel on their chances of being successful on the international assignments. And so key questions will be asked on their credentials, and also key questions will also be asked on how they will be handling some cultural issues in the new context that they are likely to encounter. Now, a major advantage of the interview technique is that it gives the panel members, so in this situation, the representatives from the home country, host country, and the interculturalists, an opportunity to examine the nonverbal cues or the body language of the prospective international assignee as and when the conversation ensues. So the person is sitting before them or interacting with all these representatives online, and they are monitoring the facial expression, the way they talk, their body language, and so on and so forth. And so when some answers are inconsistent with the facial expression or the body language, then they are able to probe further. Unlike other selection techniques where these representatives will not be readily available when the prospective international assignee is being screened. Please, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, so that is about the advantage. Now, a major disadvantage of the interview method is that it can be time consuming, and it can also, depending on the composition of the panel, it can also affect the final decision that is taken, especially if the panel is not well composed. This is so because usually these panels are analyzing the interviewee from their own frames of reference. In other words, they are using their own spectacle to perceive the answers that you are giving and whether you are coming across as someone who is up for the task or not. And so it is important to compose the panel properly so that you always have a balanced panel that will be able to take a good decision. Other than that, people's personal idiosyncrasies will be informing their decision. And again, certain candidates also, even though they are very much proficient when it comes to their delivery on the job, may not be able to excel during the interview sessions. So such candidates may come across as not fit for the international assignment, but when in actual fact, they are fit for it. So to make up for some of these inadequacies of interviews, it is appropriate to augment it with some other selection techniques. And that is why after some even conduct formal assessment before you come for the interview, so that at the end of the day, the selection decision will be based on numerous selection criteria. All right, formal assessments. So formal assessments simply refers to a number of questions and answers that come in a form of paper and pencil. So it's like taking a quiz. And on this paper, you have series of questions that are testing different facets of the candidates, which could be about your, so depending whether it is targeting your aptitude, it could be testing your verbal ability, your numeracy skills, your arithmetic. Some professions even consider your cognitive ability, and so on and so forth. Then you could also be having formal assessment or test that centers on your proficiency on the job. So that is what we call the subject-based test. And they'll be testing your knowledge on the profession or the job that you are currently performing. Then the issue of adaptability tests also comes in, which is basically meant to test your ability to adjust to different or uncomfortable circumstances, your openness to new ideas, and so on and so forth. Some even test your personality. So all those series of tests or questions and answers which come in the paper format, these days you can even digitalize it and send it and answer it on the computer, can be captured under the label of formal assessments. So typical example is aptitude test. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Good. Then you can also have committee decisions. Committee decisions. Now, many a times when certain portfolios are coming up or they come up at the international level and a multinational enterprise wants to fill it, they can constitute a committee and task them to look out for the candidate that is suitable for it. And this committee goes beyond just the rep from the home country, host country, and the interculturalist. It can actually be a very large committee. And the prime objective of this committee is that they are supposed to take a final decision on a candidate that will be successful on the international assignment by considering the preceding factors that we considered. That is the managerial ability of the managerial skills of the person, their trainability, and also their willingness to go on that particular assignment, and so on and so forth. Then self-selection. In self-selection, it is a situation where an individual working in a multinational enterprise consults their, if you like, mentor, and further on also approaches the international HR in the organization to discuss the career progression of such a candidate, so that a vacuum or opportunity will be given to them to go on the assignment in order to get the international experience, in lieu of the fact that when they get to their future portfolios, they will have that international exposure to be successful. So what happens in the self-selection is that the initiation comes from the individual who is working in the multinational enterprise. And usually you should be a promising candidate who has been earmarked for a managerial position in the company, looking at their succession plan. So such candidates can also initiate the process, and the international HR will give you the opportunity to go on the international assignment with the view of gaining some sort of international knowledge and exposure. Then internal job posting and individual bidding. So unlike the self-selection where the employee makes the initiation, in internal job posting and individual bidding, the portfolio is advertised first in the organization. Then individuals now takes the initiative to bid for it. Is it clear? So the positions are advertised that we are looking for someone to go and perform this assignment at Afghanistan, and the person must possess these qualities, blah, 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 must have worked with the company for blah, blah, blah. Then, as an individual, you make the initiation to bid for it. Now, recommendations. Under recommendations, what happens is that promising candidates within the organization are recommended by their HODs. Sylvia, kindly mute your microphone, okay? Sylvia and Katia, mute your microphone.
Okay.
So promising candidates are identified by their supervisors or their HODs, and they are recommended as part of their training to gain some of this international exposure, so that on their return, they will be a huge asset to the organization. Then assessment centers. Now, assessment centers are primarily an amalgamation of different selection techniques that are combined to pick candidates suitable for an international assignment. So what happens in assessment centers is that we do not conduct, for instance, interviews, and then after that we think about conducting another aptitude test or another selection technique. But in assessment centers, all these specific selection techniques are considered in a battery form or in a joint fashion, such that immediately after aptitude test, we may reduce the number of the pool of job applicants from 5,000 to about 500. Then we will conduct initial interview to screen it to about 200. Then we conduct subsequent subject-based tests, or what we call simulation exercise, where people will demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and abilities by solving a problem. To screen it down, then maybe there will be a case study to screen it down until we get to the final candidates that we think will be successful on the international assignment. So that is the assessment centers. Okay. Expatriate failure. Now, an expatriate is said to have failed on an international assignment when, after thorough assessment of their performance there, we realize they are deviating from the achievements of the targets that were set for them. And a number of reasons account for why expatriates fail when they go on international assignments. Can you name a few for me? Reasons why expatriates may fail on an international assignment. Indirectly, now I've mentioned some as I was presenting. Can you mention some for me? What factors will, okay, Jennifer.
Say, I think diversity issues. When the expatriate has issues with a particular group of people because of their race or something, you know, it can have a problem.
Okay. That will be particularly true when the duration of the assignment is short and you are struggling to adjust with the cultural diversity over there, in as much as you are also trying to perform at the international level. Okay, any other? And let me quickly add that when diversity issues account for an expatriate failure, it means that the pre-departure orientation and the post-departure training that was given to the candidates was not substantial. So the international HR will have himself to be blamed here. The preparation that was given to the person for the assignment was not so thorough. Any other factor that can account for failure of an international assignee or an expatriate? Let me see the names. Hello, I'm listening on.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mensa.
Family stresses can contribute to some.
Very good. Family stress.
Yes, we have.
How? Come again.
I'm talking about family stress.
Okay. So if, and will the stress be cropping up because you went with your family or you left your family behind?
You left your family behind.
Okay. All right. So that means the at the preparation stage, your spouse or your family did not agree on you taking on the assignment, but because you were looking at the money that was coming up from it and maybe your own career progression, you took it up. All right. It could also be the other way where your family members agreed and went with you, but over there, they are finding it pretty much difficult to integrate. So for instance, your children are finding it difficult to get international schools in the jurisdiction where you find yourself, and they also find it difficult to learn. Your spouse is finding it difficult to also get a job as a form of sustenance over there. All these issues can affect your ability to deliver. Anita. Anita, I saw your hand up.
Yes, sir.
So make your points.
Hello.
Yeah, Anita, go on.
Hello.
Hello, Anita, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, were you trying to make a contribution?
Yes, please.
Go on.
Yes, please. I said when the... Hello, say.
Yeah, go on.
Hello. So I said when the expectations are not met.
Okay, expectations as in what?
Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mensa.
What the candidate was supposed to do, the giving job for the president.
Okay. Anita, I get you now.
There was a mistake in it, or the person was not able to do
okay, so
to them.
All right, I get the angle you are coming from. In some circumstances, the multinational enterprise may end up embellishing or overselling the goodies that come with the international assignments. And that might also inspire the prospective candidates in their application. But when you get there and all these things that were enumerated or embellished are not found, then it can affect your mood to deliver over there. So that can result in your failure as well. Mensa, were you trying to also make a contribution?
Yes, but I had wanted to say what my sister is trying to say. Can it be related to responsibility overload or emotional immaturity? Can it contribute to that?
No, I understood it from an angle where they created a very nice picture for you out there, but when you got over there, the reality was totally different in terms of the things that were going to be used to motivate you, and so on and so forth. Yeah, Jennifer.
Hello, sir. Can we also say that a wrong selection decision made due to the fact that a proper job analysis is not done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that can also account for the failure of the international assignment, particularly when the hiring managers did not do their homework well. And so they ended up picking somebody they think is apt for the job, but the person is actually not competent enough for such a portfolio. In such circumstances, the moment you hit the ground, you will not be able to run and you will encounter a lot of challenges. So when wrong selection decisions are taken, it can also affect your ability to deliver over there. And let's look at even the context where we find ourselves. Last time, one of my students was telling me that in their company, I will not mention the company, if you are well connected to the people that give the nod for you to go on some of these assignments, whether you are apt for it or not, they will be they are willing to give you the opportunities to go, so that when you come back, you also give them their share. So in such circumstances, right from the outset, you can all say that the person was not properly selected. So all these wrong selection decisions can account for failure. There was another hand up. Okay, what else do you think can account for the failure of an expatriate? This one we are discussing. I'm not going to project it. Yes, Mensa.
Responsibility overload.
Responsibility overload.
Yes, sir.
And yes, strong point, sir. Even though when you are overloaded with responsibility, it can cloud your judgment and wasting. But at that level, they will make sure whatever responsibility you are granted, it is something that you can contain. Okay.
Okay.
And they also know that even though it might be challenging, you are up to it. Douglas.
Hello?
Yeah, Douglas, go on.
Yes, sir. Can we say that different labor laws can also account for the failure? Different labor laws.
Okay, explain it and let me see.
Yeah, a situation where you are not abreast with the labor laws of the country where you have been sent to perform your assignment. So when you go there, you have to be struggling with their laws to adjust yourself. Maybe by the time you get abreast with those labor laws and start working with them, you might not deliver properly.
Oh, okay. Now, this point is good, but not for this particular, it will not account for the expatriate failure. It is differences in labor law is actually a challenge that the HR manager, the international HR manager will be encountering, because you are moving your employee from one jurisdiction to the other. So you must be on top of these labor law issues so that at the end of the day, it does not affect your company negatively, okay? So it is actually a challenge to the practice of international HR. Thank you.
Okay.
Jennifer, sorry, Genevieve.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
Regard to the responsibility overload. I would like to say that if you have a responsibility that are loaded, make it. You fail to make it, that is failure to plan. That means you are not able to prepare properly your schedule of work.
Okay.
So instead of to overload, I would prefer him to say failure to plan.
Okay. All right. I get the angle you're also coming from.
That one also goes also for the recruitment and selection. If they don't prepare particularly the assignment for recruitment and the rest also fall out to plan.
Exactly. So that was what I meant when I said that a thorough job analysis has to be conducted. So this job analysis will end up giving you an information that you can use to plan for your staffing decisions. Okay, good. Douglas, were you trying to say something? Okay, Robert.
No. Sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, Robert, go on.
Please, so I want. I'm thinking of one's health, physical breakdown.
Good.
Health failure.
Exactly. So your health circumstances may also affect your ability to perform or deliver over there. And don't forget, when it comes to health issues, it can be supervening or unpredictable, especially when For instance, they say we are in the COVID era. If the nature of your job is such that you are always out there, then it will truncate your ability to perform. So some of these health issues and supervening events can actually affect your ability to succeed on the international assignments. There are simple ones, and all of you are not mentioning them. Because this one, it will come in exams. That is why I've taken my time and we are discussing it. Yes, Anita. Anita. Hello, Anita.
Please say, when you do the record, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please, when you do the recording and someone's line breaks,
Yes, sir.
when you listen to it, it disturbs.
You are unable to.
I advise you to tell the person to rather write it.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Anita, we are struggling to hear you, so you can type your contribution there, okay? Anita, can you hear me? Type your contribution at the comment section and I'll read it, okay? Any other? I'm still on there. I'm still asking for the factors that can account for expatriate failure. So far, the simple ones, and you've not mentioned. And this one, you'll be writing it for full 20 marks. Hey. Okay, let me look through the names. Doreen. Doreen here, what? Is Doreen here? Okay, so Doreen is absent. Let me mark her absent. Gloria Labi.
Hello, sir.
Gloria. What do you think
sir.
are some of the factors that can account for expatriate failure?
Sir, please, my network went off, so I just came back. So give me time to think.
Okay. So you think through your answer. So Anita has written that personality traits of the expatriate can also account for their failure. For instance, in the maturity of the expatriate's emotions, how the expatriate is able to control their emotions. Okay. Now, have I taught you the big 5 personality traits?
Yes.
Good. So you all agree with me that if someone is characterized as a neurotic type or scores low on emotional stability, such people's ability to be adaptable or emotionally intelligent can be called into question. So such people may have, it can affect their ability to succeed on the international assignment. Okay, thank you very much, Anita.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Can we also say language barriers?
Language, thank you very much. Oh, from the outset of my lectures, I've been hammering on language. So it is the first thing I was expecting you people to mention. Okay, language can also be an issue and it can cause expatriate failure. Now, what again? Causes of expatriate failure. I'm on fast to home for exams. Really, my mom will cool chop by home. So, yeah, can't family one, no? Then inability of the expert to adjust, especially when the lead time is very, very short and the assignment period is very, very short. So in that circumstance, they are struggling to not only adjust to the culture, but also deliver at the end of the multinational enterprise. Now, mistaken candidates or selection. So when errors occur in the selection procedure too, then it can have ripple effects on the performance of the expatriates. Now, personality, that is what Amita also mentioned. So when you lack emotional maturity, or when you are the neurotic type, or you score low on emotional stability, then it can also have negative repercussions on your success. The inability to cope with large responsibilities and overseas work. Now, this implies that when you were being selected, you were favored in some respects, especially when it comes to your ability to handle or work under pressure, especially lack of technical competencies. So it means from the outset, you did not possess the managerial competencies, which is one of the key factors that we consider. Lack of motivation for the overseas job. You were not willing to go, but they said, no, as for this portfolio there, you are the one that is supposed to go. So they forced you to go. This is dissatisfaction with the quality of life in foreign assignments. If you are the type who is very much used to how things are done in your home country, you are the type who cannot go with your fufu and live soup, and you are not getting all these live delicacies at the foreign assignment, then it can affect your ability to deliver. Dissatisfaction with the compensation and benefits. And that was what I was saying, that the way it was described to you is totally different from the compensation that you are actually receiving on the foreign soil. So that can also demoralize you. Cultural and language preparation did not also go well, which means at the pre-departure and post-departure level, you did not take this training that they were providing for you. Inadequate support for the international assignee and family while on the overseas assignment. Now, even when people go on international assignments, there is supposed to be a connect between them and their headquarters. In other words, where they were originating from, so that such people will be motivating them and supporting them when the need arises. And so when there is that disconnect, or the support that is coming from your country of origin is not adequate enough, then it can also demoralize you and affect your ability to deliver. So these are a number of them. When you go, take your time and go through them again. Now, challenges to the successful staffing of international assignees. So, one of you earlier on mentioned something about differences in labor law. Differences in labor law. That particular point can be discussed under this heading, which is the challenges to successful staffing with international assignees. So when the international HR manager or the HR department is trying to conduct a successful recruitment and selection exercise, some of the issues or challenges that they encounter are the following. One, trailing spouse or partner. Trailing spouse or partner. Now, ideally, when people are going on an international assignment and they have family or they are married, it is anticipated that the company will accommodate the partner and the family alongside. Now, when this happens and they get to the international level and the spouse is not progressing as they anticipated, in other words, the spouse is having difficulty, for instance, getting a job of their own, and they are not getting the necessary support to accommodate some of these things, then the spouse who is not doing well can also emotionally and psychologically affect the international assignee. So these are some of the challenges that the HR department have to manage properly. And this implies that once you allow the spouse to go with the international assignee, then it is your responsibility to make sure that they also get a job, if not the same, something which is equal to what they were previously doing. And their wants to also get the appropriate school so that the international assignee will have a peace of mind. And this is easier said than done. That is why it becomes a challenge to the staffing issues. So what most multinational enterprises do is that unless it is a key managerial position, the moment they identify that you have a spouse or you have family, then they will not shortlist you in order to avert some of these possible challenges. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. If they do not want to encounter the challenge of getting a job for your spouse, your wants, and so on and so forth, the moment after shortlisting they identify that you are a married person, then they will move on to the next candidate who is not married. Now, the issue of language, that one there is pretty much straightforward. That they have to adequately prepare you in the foreign language. This is because that will be the main medium that you'll be interacting and intercommunicating with your co-workers and the other indigents in that foreign country. Then the challenge of women expatriates. And there's this general stereotype that, and once again, this will also be informed by the international orientation of the multinational enterprise. So there is a general stereotype about foreign countries' acceptance of women in professions or managerial roles. And so particularly at the host country, usually when positions come up for people to fill and women get shortlisted, the HR manager have to do due diligence or extra work by checking the general norm at the foreign country, particularly if it is fluid with yes. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Good. So they do not want to end up sending a woman to a country where the indigents find it very difficult for women to occupy higher positions, like in the Middle East and apart from Middle East, yeah. Then the issue of your managing family issues. So just like the trailing partner, there is also the element of your wards, that is your children. So the international HR has to take into consideration whether you have children, and they also have to make sure that once your children go with you, they will be able to get the requisite schooling that they deserve. So get appropriate international schools for them, appropriate environment for them to socialize so that they will not end up having some developmental challenges in terms of their psyche and so on and so forth. Now, lifestyle. Certain cultural contexts are such that they abhor certain practices. So the challenge of sending someone from one context that accepts such practices to another context that abhor it is something that the HR department has to grapple with. So if you are being sent from America to Saudi Arabia and Americans welcome gayism, lesbianism, and so on and so forth, or married couple in, familiarizing themselves in one room and so on and so forth. Whereas this is exactly the opposite in Saudi Arabia. Okay, all these lifestyle issues have to be properly trashed out, particularly at the pre-departure and post-departure level. Other than that, you will end up sending someone on assignment and the law over there will cut them up. Then the cost of the international assignments. So we are not only talking about the compensation and benefits that is associated with it, that is the remuneration, but we are also looking at even the funding of the staffing process and also the repatriation as well. All these things are issues that the HR department, in fact, the multinational enterprise, have to carefully think through to see whether it is worth pursuing it or not. Then the repatriation process, which is when the international assignee is done with the assignment and they are coming back home. It is also a challenge that multinational enterprises face. And this is so because some experts end up acquiring foreign tastes. And when it is time for them to come back home, they are very much reluctant. So you might have spent huge sums of money training and helping such a candidate to gain a wealth of experience. But when the time is right for them to come back home to impart such knowledge, then they are reluctant. So that can be a huge constraint to them. Another thing is that sometimes these experts will come back home very much energized to impart their knowledge into the headquarters or the country where they originated from, they were sent from. But there will be no room for them to exercise some of these new energies that they have gained. And that can be a pent-up feeling for these assignees. And so, in the strict sense of it, repatriation must be tackled as a process with the seriousness it deserves, just as expatriation is done. So, in expatriation, you are taken through some sort of pre-departure orientation, post-departure, some sort of training, and once you get to the international level, you are shown your desk where you are supposed to report to and all that. The repatriation process must also go through the same rudiment so that you do not come back to your company and then you will be feeling that you are not even welcome over there. Okay, that is why we say it has to be tackled with the seriousness it deserves. Now, research indicates that when employees are given an international assignment and they take it up, they go through some sort of phases or transitions before they are able to acclimatize or adapt to the new cultural context that they find themselves in. And so we are going to look at the 4 phases of expatriate adjustment. And ideally, every expatriate, irrespective of the preparation that was given to you at the pre-departure or post-departure level, must have gone through these transitions. However, the transition for one candidate may be different from another in the sense that whereas someone may be a little bit stuck at the resistance stage or resistance phase for quite a number of time. Others may also go through the resistance phase quite smoothly and transition to the adaptation and so on and so forth. So the transitioning might be different from each candidate. Most expatriates go through 4 phases of adjustment when they move overseas for an assignment. And the phases include elation or honeymoon phase, resistance phase, adaptation phase, and biculturalism. Now, when we say an expatriate is currently at the elation phase, which is also known as the honeymoon phase, it means that it is at that point in time where the international assignee has traveled from their home country to the host country, and they now find themselves in the new cultural context. At that point in time, they get surrounded by people that are very much welcoming and entertaining. So because of the new energies that they tend to travel with, they get very much excited at that particular phase. Okay, and that is also the point in time where they are trying to yes. And so we say culture is exotic over there and stimulating because they are still trying to put a face to some of the things that they learned during the pre-departure phase. And don't forget that the pre-departure level, that is why you are being trained or educated about some of the things you should expect over there and some of the things that are in existence at the subsidiary level with the subsidiary country when you get there. So in an attempt to actually come face to face with some of the things that you heard during the pre-departure, you are so much excited to meet all these things. Now, research indicates that the elation phase usually do not last for a longer period of time because you are there not for excursion purposes, but to actually work. And so the resistance phase will set in. Now, at the resistance phase is where all those who were very much welcoming and nice to you have now done their job and they are now doing their core mandate, which is performing within the organization. At the same time, you are also at the point in your life where you are now expected to deliver as you demonstrated during the interviews and also on your CV. Okay. Now, challenges usually crop up when the international assignee starts comparing their home country norms with that of the host country. And usually they seek reminders of the home country. What I'm trying to say over here is that we try to compare how things are done at the host country with the home one, and you realize that things are done differently, particularly if the orientation of the international orientation of the company is ethnocentric, and you are also an ethnocentric person. So frustration may occur because everyday living, such as language, culture, and even style of conducting the business is totally different from how it is done at the home country. And this frustration will affect you emotionally. So that is the resistance phase. Primarily at the resistance phase, you are comparing how things are done in your home country with the host country, and you are resisting because you expect things to be done like it was done previously at your home country. But the host country also have an equally good way of conducting the same thing. And in your attempt to adjust, you are finding it difficult to marry the two. Then, once you successfully go through the resistance phase, you get to another pedestal that we call adaptation phase. So at the adaptation level, the employee must have acquired some basic language and cultural skills that will assist them to survive at the host country. So they are now able to communicate with everyday person on the streets, ask for directions, ask for recommendations, and also understand why the people do things the way they do, which is usually different from how it was done in your home country. Now, sometimes during this phase, expatriates may even tend to reject their own culture. When I say reject their own culture, it means that the new context you find yourself now have also taught you something new, which has a survival value. So at that point in time, you may start wondering why in your home country, they were not doing things as easier as it is done in this regard. So that is what I mean by you may end up rejecting your own culture because you still kind of questions how things are done in your home country. And in this phase, the experts begins to embrace the life overseas. So that is the adaptation phase. Now, the last phase is what we call biculturalism. Biculturalism. And at this phase, the expatriate embraces the new culture that they have acquired at the subsidiary level or the host country and begins to appreciate his old life at home. So that is at the country where the headquarters or where they came from as equally good, just as the one or the new life overseas. And many of the problems that were associated with the expatriate phase, such as family life, cultural stress, and may have diminished. And usually those are the ones that crop up at the resistance or the adaptation phase. Okay. Now, let me also add that research has indicated that a person's ability to transition faster from the adaptation phase to the biculturalism phase is contingent on the pre-departure orientation and the post-departure orientation that will be administered to them. I will say pre-departure orientation, you amount some language skills training. They also expose you to the foreign culture. And in the next lecture, I will show you some of the techniques. It could be through videos. They could even invite someone from your company who has embarked on that particular trip before to share his experiences with you. And you realize that all these knowledge that you are carrying at the pre-departure level will be from another person's perspective. So depending on how they narrate it well, they are likely to not create the true picture as it maintains at the host country. But if you get to the host country and you realize that they were actually downplaying or not emphasizing some issues, then that is where the culture shocks comes in. Say, the person was educating you about the weather over there, and they say, oh, once you get some good clothing or jacket, you'll be fine. But you'll be surprised you are wearing numerous jackets underneath your winter jacket, and so you are feeling very, very cold. Okay, then you tend to think that the issues that were raised at the pre-departure level from the candidate who already has that experience was not good enough. Okay, so the pre-departure and post-departure orientation can influence your ability to quickly transition to the adaptation and finally the biculturalism phase. Any question? Any question? Hello, do you have a question?
No, sir.
So you can all explain the phases of expatriate adjustment. All right. Repatriation. I didn't class my explaining all that. Okay, so repatriation is the opposite of expatriation. And repatriation usually occurs when an international assignee or an expatriate has finished performing the task that they were expected to do at the international level, and they are ready to come back. So repatriation encompasses the processes.
Sir, we can't hear you.
Oh, really? Can you all hear me now?
Yes, please.
I can hear you. You're
Okay.
loud and clear.
Okay.
Now, yes.
So repatriation is the exact opposite of expatriation. And repatriation occurs when an international assignee is done with their international assignments, and they are taking through processes to appropriately bring them back to the portfolio or the country where they originated from. So it involves the move of an international assignee back to the parent company and country from the foreign assignment. And this presupposes that the assignment that we gave you, you have accomplished it. And so if, for instance, it was 1 year or 2 years, the 2 years have elapsed and there is no need for us to keep you at the foreign, on the foreign assignment any longer. So there is the need for us to prepare you back home. For many expats, the move back home is even more difficult than the original move overseas. And it's a concern that is generally overlooked in total expatriation process. And this is so because repatriation is often so difficult, and it is just as important to manage repatriation process as it is to manage the expatriation process. So what I'm trying to say over here is that when it comes to expatriation or preparing someone for foreign assignments, we give it all the needed attention and concern it deserves, right from pre-departure to post-departure. Now, repatriation is also equally important. So you don't have to wait for the assignment to elapse. Then you just send the person back home. There is the need for you to make preparations for the person before he even comes back home. And if the person is coming back with the family, it even becomes much more complicated. At the end of the day, these employees are construed as talented assets of the organization. And so there is a need for you to manage them appropriately so that they can also give out their best. Now, the overseas experience is generally challenging, exciting, highly developmental, and full of visibility and exposure for the expatriates. And so they end up acquiring foreign tastes and different perspectives of performing the same job. In addition, because the compensation practices of most multinational enterprises reward their expatriates quite well, the expatriates and family typically live quite well in the overseas location, often better than they do at home. So what we are also trying to say over here is that when it comes to the salary that people are paid on their international assignments and the attention that is even given to their family that accompany them over there, it helps them to live a particular lifestyle, which is almost always better than what they were previously receiving at their home country. And so if you do not prepare them psychologically, emotionally well enough and ahead for them to return back home, then it will be like you are more or less demoting them. And that can come with a whole lot of frictions. Thus, expatriates usually return from such experiences quite charged, and they expect to be treated just as they were on the assignment. But it cannot continue to be so, because the assignments, later on when we are doing compensation and benefit of international HRM, we will understand some of these things, that we consider the challenges and the hardship that you are going to encounter on the foreign assignment and factor it into your remuneration. But when you are coming back, it is believed that you are not going to continue enduring all these hardship and challenges again in your home country. And so all those components will be taken out of your compensation and benefits. And when this is not properly discussed, even before the person leaves, and it is coming to them as a shock at the last minute when they are coming back, then it can make the repatriation process quite difficult. So they expect their employees to use their new experiences and excitement. And that was what I meant by a room being created for them to also disseminate or implement some of the novel ideas that they acquired on their foreign assignments. Now, at the end of the day, they will feel being what? Useful. But if a multinational enterprise is to reap the benefits of its expatriates, learning while on the foreign assignments, it is imperative that these valuable employees stay with the organization long enough to share their experiences. This should encourage multinational enterprises to place a strong emphasis on the repatriation experience of their international assignees. But the reality is more likely to be out of sight, out of mind. That is, the moment you embark on the assignments, the position that you were occupying is given to another person altogether. And there's likely to be a disconnect between you and your home country as far as the company is concerned. So firms often fail to use experiences or knowledge gained in their foreign assignments, and most likely have not thought about the career implications of this experience. So it's like you have gone to acquire a particular knowledge, but when you came back, your company does not even find any use for it, and you become very much frustrated. But they did not even create an office or a desk for you to come back and occupy. So you are quite stranded in your own homeland, and all this can affect the employee's morale. Now, typically, the repatriate is reassigned to a position similar to the one he or she left 2 or 3 years before. Repatriates often find it difficult to relate to the value of their global experience to the manager with a domestic focus. Domestic managers themselves, usually without any international experience, cannot relate. So you've gone on this assignment, you come back. Your manager's key drive is to be successful within that local context. And he is finding it very much difficult to make use of all the knowledge that you acquired on the international assignment. It can be quite frustrating, especially when they themselves do not have any international exposure to relate to some of the issues that you'll be communicating. So for the repatriates, this makes the job search within the company upon return quite difficult, especially when you feel that the new portfolio you are being given comes across as a demotion. So the global experience may be viewed as helpful to the specific foreign situation, but the domestic manager usually views domestic experiences as more important. So this is a typical domestic manager who is fixated about thinking only local and also being disconnected with all the international happenings. And this can have negative repercussions for a multinational enterprise because you are not only struggling to survive within that local context under the jurisdiction of the that line manager or the local manager, but at the end of the day, all your activities at the various host countries must mutually support each other so that the multinational enterprise can become a force to reckon with on the global landscape. So, in a nutshell, the same attention of equal importance must be given to repatriation process, just as it is granted to expatriation. This means that whilst the international assignee is performing their international assignments, steps should be carried out to ascertain how the experience they are acquiring on their assignments can be integrated to their previous jurisdiction so that on their return, the company can actually tap in from it. And I believe it has to even, they have to focus all these things when they are sending you abroad. It should be part of the plan. Okay, it shouldn't be something that they come up with overnight. In the same vein, preparation should be made for you to feel welcome when you come back home. So you must have a nice desk to work with. And if asking for an office is too much, the conditions of service should also be substantial so that you do not feel cheated. And that explains why most people, after their return, they start looking over their shoulders to look for other better conditions of services elsewhere. So all these things have to be properly thought through. All right, so that will be all for today. Let me see the time. Any question? Any question?